Welcome to the Soul to Self, the Inner Compass podcast. I'm Victoria, your host. This is a space for deep, meaningful conversations about realigning with your true self, navigating life's transitions, and reclaiming your personal power. This first episode is an important one because it kind of sets the foundations for everything that we're going to explore together in this series. Today, we're talking about the Soul to Self shift and what it truly means to reconnect with who you truly are and how you can begin your own journey of healing, alignment, and growth. I'll be sharing with you some of my own experiences, the biggest lessons I've learned, and guiding you through a short reflective practice so you could start to recognize where you might be out of alignment. And as always, I'm going to be bringing a little bit of woo because midway through, we'll pull an angel card and just get the universe to shine some light and offer us some guidance on where we are today. So, what does it mean to realign to your true self? I didn't realize until recently just how many times during my life that I had reconnected with myself over the years and how transformative each of those moments was. The last few years, after a series of losses, were probably some of the hardest in my life. And looking back, it wasn't the first time I'd had to rediscover who I was, but it felt like the hardest so far. So in 2023, I was completely lost. I was at rock bottom. I'd spent years as a healer and a therapist guiding people through their own journeys. And here I was in the depths of delayed grief, trying to rebuild my life somewhere new. My relationship was struggling. I just wasn't the person that I used to be, and I didn't want the same things. In fact, I didn't even know what I wanted. I'd lost my friendships, I'd lost my network and stabilities that had once grounded me. And looking back, it was my dark night of the soul, the lowest point that I'd ever been. It created a time of deep uncertainty, massive changes, isolation, and pain. And I went through a journey of about 10 months, a healing journey. And I can see now that piece by piece, how I rebuilt. It wasn't quick and it wasn't easy. I'm not going to lie. It was slow, it was deep, and it was really intentional. And that's really important, that little bit. It was deliberately done. Because healing isn't just about passing time. It's a choice to be present with our pain and to face where it's been buried and to choose ourselves again and again. I've learned healing isn't about going back to who you were. It's about stepping forward into who you're meant to become for that next part of your journey. Life has a way of pushing us into these moments. Sometimes it happens gently and things creep up on us, and sometimes it's with a force so strong that we just don't recognize ourselves anymore. And what I learned through my journey is that realignment isn't a one-time thing. It's something we return to again and again. We evolve, we grow, we change. And that means that we have to reconnect to who we are at each stage of our journey. And the deeper we go, it's like the more aspects of ourselves that we uncover and the more truth we uncover. Now, obviously that's my story. And what that really enabled me to do was to kind of step back again and think about my methods as a practitioner, as a coach, as a therapist, and all of the things. And it helped me, and I reflected, and it helped me to kind of understand why I feel so many women feel disconnected. And I think that's because we take on so many roles and we're so many things to so many people. I have a friend who calls herself the wearer of many hats. And it made me think of her when I was writing the notes for this episode. Because she's an amazing lady and she does so many different things within her working life. But we all do so many things. And we become the spinner of many, many plates. And we forget at the center of everything is us. And it's like we start existing for other people. So for our families, our partners, our careers, our responsibilities. And the more we start to exist for those things, the more we pull away from ourselves. And before we know it, we kind of wake up one day feeling completely lost and thinking, who am I outside of these roles? What do I even want? And then we question, why do I feel so unfulfilled? Like on the outside, it might look like we have everything. It might look like we have the business, the husband, the kids, the car, the holidays. But inside, like there's this disconnection. And it doesn't happen overnight. It's a gradual thing. It sneaks up on us because we're busy. And although we may have this part of us, this intuition within us, that's kind of giving us signs and signals that something's not quite right, we silence it and we ignore our desires because we do what we think we should do. And it can show up in small ways. And I think some of those ways that I notice in my clients now that I'm looking for it and in people is, when you're feeling irritated and exhausted and when everything is fine, but you just don't see the joy that you used to see in the things that you once loved. And you're constantly looking for distractions or constantly feeling numb in your own life. And it can show up in bigger ways too, like burnout, relationship struggles, complete identity crisis. But like, how do we notice that before we hit that breaking point? Some of the key signs are like when you stop noticing what brings you joy. You feel like you're on autopilot and you're going through the motions, but you're not truly present. You struggle to set boundaries, constantly saying yes when you want to say no. Or you have those relationships in your life that like are taking more than they're given. You're overwhelmed, but can't pinpoint why. You feel disconnected from your body, your intuition, or your emotion. Now, the first step to realignment is awareness. And I know it sounds such a simple thing, but it really, really is that simple. If you take a pause and you kind of start to ask yourself, why am I giving too much of myself without replenishing myself? Where am I ignoring my own needs? And just noticing that disconnection, that's like the first doorway to healing. It's a really, really powerful thing. I just want to take a moment just to pull an angel card for us today with that pausing and reflection in mind. So the angel card that I've pulled, and I just giggle a little bit because it says, quieten the mind and see things from an angel's point of view. Now, what I think so powerful about this message is how it connects to what we've just been talking about. And I think that's the thing, isn't it? The universe has this funny way of knowing what's going on for us before we do sometimes. And just listening to those little nudges and those little signs is really important. So let that be your guidance and your reminder today to just know that you're always being guided back to yourself. So with everything that went on for me, like what I did was I restructured my work and became very passionate about helping women who are going through this. And I created the Soul to Self method, which is a 3-step process that promotes moving from that disconnection to reconnection, really, with clarity and confidence. And I'm going to use an example to kind of illustrate how this works. So imagine a woman who once loved painting but hasn't picked up a paintbrush in years. She used to find the joy in being creative, but life got busy and family, work, responsibilities took over. And now she feels lost, like something's missing. The first thing, the first part of the process is the healing part. And it starts with acknowledgement and understanding. So she needs to acknowledge that she's abandoned that part of herself. And she may need to reflect on why. Perhaps she felt that it wasn't practical to do that in her life. Perhaps she was too busy. Perhaps she was pleasing others and prioritizing other people's needs over her requirement to be creative. So if she sits with that emotions and sees what arises for her and allows herself to kind of almost grieve that lost connection and to be part of that, to have part of that. The next thing she'd need to do would be to realign, reconnect to her truth. And this is where she needs to kind of check in, because she remembers how painting made her feel. It might have made her feel calm, alive, and free. And she realizes that that was a core part of her soul. So she has a choice, you know, she needs to check in. Is that still a core part of her soul? Is that something that would make her feel those things again? And if the answer is yes, then she absolutely has to realign and reclaim her creative side, reclaim her creative expression. Now, it might need to be something that's done gradually. So maybe she starts by sketching and carrying a notepad and pencil around with her and sketches when she gets time to. Maybe she goes all in and sets an hour a week where she will paint and create and just let her soul come alive on the paper. And this is where she grows. You know, she's taking action. And maybe that is 10 minutes a day. Maybe that is longer if she can, but it's doing something just for herself. She doesn't worry about it being perfect. She allows herself to enjoy the process. And over time, she will become herself again, because just that one small action that used to bring her joy, used to bring her peace, used to allow her that creative part of her soul that was so strong and so important to her, makes her more her. So she's returned to her soul's truth in a way. And I know I've oversimplified this in a sense to make a point, but in another sense, it really is as simple. You know, this process is about awareness, intention, action. And through this awareness and then creating an intention and taking an action, we realign to who we are. And if we realign in the small things, the bigger things tend to start to follow suit. So if you're listening to this podcast now, it's a pretty good chance that you're a spiritual person. You're probably running a spiritual business and you are someone who cares deeply about other people and you give so much of your time and yourself to other people. So just bringing that awareness to that one thing that fills you up, that replenishes your cup and allows you to become more who you are meant to become for that next level, you know, because this isn't about returning to a person we once was, because we can't do that. You know, we don't have a time machine, we can't go back in time, and we're on a journey, and ultimately we need to become that next level of ourselves, that person. You know, I bet if I said to you, are you the same person you were 5 years ago, you would say, no, of course I'm not. And I'm not. I'm probably not the same person I was in some senses 5 weeks ago. It's a constant evolution and growth within us as entrepreneurs. We're always striving, we're always growing, but sometimes what we do forget to do is that healing bit and that alignment bit, and that's where we trip up. You know, that's where we kind of come to a stumbling block where we can't get to the next level in our businesses or make the progress in our relationships and life that we want to see or that we create for other people. So yeah, trust in the process. Bring awareness to where you are, create intention of where you want to be, and then take action. And the smaller bits add up to the big picture. Now, before we wrap up, let's just take a moment. Let's just take a breath together, because that all felt quite deep. And I hope this episode has been good and you've enjoyed it. I'd love for you to share it with someone who needs to hear this today, and stay connected. Make sure you subscribe because you really don't want to miss the next episode. I'm joined by Hannah on the next episode, and we talk about everything from love to grief, addiction, and how Hannah's journey in life has been such a powerful one. I will warn you, it's a long episode, but it is really worth listening to. Hannah is one of these people who has this victor over victim mentality, and it shines through in her story and what she has done, who she has become, is just, it's a perfect example of this awareness, intention, and action. She has lived it, she has breathed it, and next episode she's going to share it and share her story with you. And I hope these stories inspire you to know that you're not alone. Sometimes this crazy journey of life can feel so lonely, and when you're trying to run a business, it's easy to think that everybody out there has got it all together. They're doing all of the things and getting all of the traction, and it's just not true. Everybody has something going on in the background that you don't know about, that they're dealing with, or they've come through, and we're just humans who are doing the best we can with what we've got at that time. So do not miss next episode. And if you're ready to take the first steps towards alignment, check out the show notes below and grab a free copy of my 3-day reset. It's very simple. It's a simple guide, quite powerful, so I'm told, that guides you to reconnect with yourself and just find that little bit of clarity. And it's just simple steps that make the big picture, remember. So until next time, trust your journey. Listen to your inner wisdom and intuition, because remember, you are always being guided back to your true self, and that's how you're going to get to where you're meant to go. Until next time, thank you.